A l'estat espanyol així no pot continuar. A la comunitat europea deixi de mirar a un altre costat. A tots els demòcrates del món, dient-los que hi ha un poble dempeus, digne.
A leader in exile addresses his people. And while Carles Puigdemont now holds no official position, after Madrid dissolved his government, thousands of his supporters continue to flood the streets of Barcelona. They are testament to the fact that the battle for Catalan independence is far from over. Puigdemont fled Spain's northeastern region for Brussels, the capital of the EU. He's wanted on charges of sedition, rebellion, and misuse of public funds, all related to the independence referendum and vote for secession held by his government last month. Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's government has put Catalonia under direct rule, something Puigdemont and other separatist leaders say is illegal.
Un gobernante no puede decir que la Constitución no rige en su territorio. Un gobernante no puede inventar una legalidad paralela, que es lo que hemos visto en los últimos tiempos. Un gobernante no puede declarar unilateralmente la independencia de una parte del territorio nacional.
Now a Brussels court will decide whether to extradite Puigdemont and 4 of his former ministers. 9 former ministers of his government who remained in Spain were sent to prison by a judge, pending an investigation. This latest chapter of Catalonia's political saga is unfolding outside its borders. While the next will be Catalan elections in December, Madrid will be hoping unionist parties prevail. If they don't, Madrid could find its constitutional foundation for a unified Spain in even greater danger. Randolph Nogel, The Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from Barcelona is Francesc Bellavista. He's the National Secretary of the Catalan National Assembly. Also in Barcelona, we have Juan Rivadulla. He is a member of the Business Association Entrepreneurs of Catalonia. And we have Peter Klepp. He's the head of the Brussels office for EU policy think tank Open Europe. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Juan, let me begin with you. What do you want to happen to Carles Puigdemont? Do you want him extradited, tried for treason? Is that what you want?
No, I don't want him to be in prison. I want him to face his responsibilities as any citizen in Spain would do. So I think he has committed some felonies. He has clearly violated the Catalan laws, the Spanish laws, and now he needs to face his responsibilities as in any democracy.
Juan, do you believe that he will get a fair trial back in Spain, given that Madrid has cracked down so hard on the Catalan leaders for going ahead with that vote?
Obviously, he would get a fair trial. Spain, according to all the international organizations, the EU, the UN, the international, all the international organizations, the World Bank, they all claim that Spain is a full democracy. So there is no doubt that Mr. Puigdemont will face a fair and just trial in Spain. In Spain, we have separation of powers, and the judicial power is independent in Spain, and he will get his fair trial.
Francesc Bellavista, if he's extradited, nothing to worry about. He will get a fair trial. He'll have an opportunity to state his case. What do you think?
Well, I don't think he will face or have a fair trial. Actually, he's charged with rebellion and sedition, among other offenses. And these offenses, they imply violence, and there has been no violence whatsoever in Catalonia in the independence process last month. So it is very difficult to accept these charges. And as we have seen with other 8 members of the Catalan government who are now in jail, charged with the same offenses, they had only 24 hours after they received notice of the charges to prepare their defense. They faced the judge. When their legal counsel was pleading the defense, the judge was just looking at her telephone and send them to jail immediately without bail. I don't think this is a fair trial. And I understand that legitimate President Puigdemont now in Brussels is worried about having a fair trial in Spain, where there is a clear lack of judicial independence, as it is said in reports from the Council of Europe.
Let me bring in Peter Klepp. It's interesting that Mr. Puigdemont decided to go to Brussels. He's there, that's where the corridors of power of the EU are. If they weren't paying attention, they definitely are now, because the man's in the city. Tell me how worried they would be, given that they're trying to keep the European Union together. They don't want one of their major players to break apart, but on the other hand, they don't also want violence and so on. Tell me how worried they might be.
Well, indeed, Puigdemont is here in Brussels to make sure that the Catalan cause gets some more attention. And as a result of that, the Spanish government has issued a European arrest warrant, which will have to be judged by a Belgian judge tomorrow. This Belgian judge, in theory, is not allowed to look at whether the criminal acts are actually proven or not. But what he can do is to say that the criminal acts that Puigdemont is alleged to have committed are actually not criminal in Belgium, which would be a reason to deny the arrest warrant. That's unlikely, I must say. What else can the judge do? He can say that the European arrest warrant actually violates the European Convention of Human Rights because of the lack of judicial independence in Spain. And if you look at certain rankings, it's not so clear at all that this is all fine. At least the European Commission scoreboard, there Spain is not doing great.
Okay.
And even if the judge would say Puigdemont has to be extradited to Spain, the Belgian government can, in theory, deny this, claiming that it would be against the Convention of Human Rights again, but that is very unlikely.
Juan, both the other two gentlemen are questioning the judicial independence in Spain, and that's why they're worried about whether Puigdemont will get a fair trial. Make your case again. They've said Spain's not doing too well judicially. They feel that the courts are going to go in line with the Prime Minister Rajoy, who's pretty hawkish on this issue right now.
But again, nationalists, independentists, they spend a great deal of efforts and time trying to discredit the Spanish democracy. But that's their opinion, and I have my own opinion. But let's see what really the international organization think about the democracy of Spain. And again, the European Union, the United Nations, the World Bank, everyone else says that Spain is a full democracy, among the top democracies in the world. So there's not much to discuss about this. They have their own opinion, I have my opinion.
Sure, let me ask you, okay,
at
fair
the
enough.
end of the day.
Okay, but hold on for a second. Let me ask you, Juan. So the separatists lost, right? They declared independence. They failed. They didn't get their state, right? So more than a month down the line, they didn't get their state. The Prime Minister has all this power, but he's still talking tough. Why can't Rajoy be magnanimous? Why can't he be gentle and compassionate now? Because he has all the power now. Why does he want to crush these leaders with charges of rebellion and sedition and so on? I mean, this is putting them in the same category as terrorists. He could face 30 years in jail.
That's our law. So it's not that Rajoy wants to do this. There are laws in Spain, and these gentlemen, they have breaking these laws. So it's not up to Rajoy to see what's going to happen with them. Again, in Spain, we have an independent judicial power. And the prosecutor believe that this gentleman has committed these crimes. So now it's all in the hands of our judicial power. Rajoy cannot do anything now. It's all in the hands of the judge.
Okay, so let's ask Francesc. Okay, let's ask Francesc. So you gambled, you wanted independence, you went ahead with the vote even though Spain said don't do it, even though neighboring countries said don't do it. You failed. As Juan says, this is the law and you have to face the consequences. And in addition to that, you've hurt the economy and you've made a big mess of this. Shouldn't the Catalan leaders be taking some responsibility for this as well?
I don't agree of everything you said, of course. The referendum was banned by the Spanish Constitutional Court It was unofficial, but it was not violent, it was not a trouble, just letting people vote and express their opinions. That's democracy and that's a free speech. I don't see if the violent repression by the Spanish riot police, I don't think it was necessary. It was absolutely disproportionate. And according to what you say, I don't agree with what you say about the economy in Catalonia. The economy continues to, the economic activity continues to work pretty well. Of course, some companies have moved their headquarters under pressure by the Spanish government, but the business is still there, and the production unions and the workers are still in Catalonia. So there's kind of like a little bit of an image of economic crackdown, which is not true at all. And then, finally, back to your final question. Should the Catalan political leaders like President Puigdemont and the rest of the cabinet face responsibilities? Political responsibilities, always. Every politician. Criminal consequences or responsibilities, I don't see it. I don't think they did any major offense or serious offense.
Let me ask Juan. Let me come in here. Let me just add to it. Let me just add to it, right? And you can sort of fold it into your broader answer, because I think this is very important, because Francesc mentioned police brutality. So I was there on voting day and in the days after. What was interesting is when I was speaking to a lot of young people in Barcelona, a lot of them were on the fence until they came across police beating up voters and protesters, right? So a lot of young people told me, I wasn't sure about whether I wanted to join the Catalonia independence movement or not, but then when I saw our own police, our own forces turn against their own people, I decided we need to have our own country. Keep that in mind, and keep in mind the fact that this is seen as a crackdown now on the political leadership of Catalonia. People possibly going to jail, leaders possibly going to jail for sedition, right? And they could spend decades in jail. Isn't that just going to push more people who weren't in support of independence, who weren't in support of Puigdemont and his plan? Isn't that going to push more of them into the hands of the separatists, the harder Madrid cracks down?
Well, to be honest, I don't know what's going to happen. The thing is that this populist nationalist process has fractured the society in two. One day you have 1 million people running the streets of Barcelona with independent flags. The other day you have another 1 million people in Barcelona waving the Spanish and European Union flags. So yes, I mean, both sides have the capability to people on the streets and to put some pressure on the government. But at the end of the day, it's the rule of law. This is a democracy. So we cannot be blackmailed by the nationalists blackmailing us or blackmailing the government, saying that we're going to block the country, we're going to put 300,000 people on the streets protesting. So because the other bloc can also do the same. So at the end of the day, again, I hate to repeat myself, but it's the democracy. We live in a democracy and we live under the rule of law. And this is what it gives us the progress, the stability that we have enjoyed for more than 40 years under the umbrella of the Spanish Constitution.
Peter Klepp, let me bring you in here. Brussels is in a little bit of a bind, isn't it? Because it must support the sovereignty of Spain. It must support Mariano Rajoy. But on the other hand, it doesn't want to see this leader, Puigdemont, going back to Spain, maybe facing trial and possibly being sentenced to 20 or 30 years in prison just because he held a vote, right? Because that would look terribly bad, just as the police beating up protesters looked really bad. So given that Brussels is in such a bind, how does it balance its policy right now?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I do not think it is the job of the European Union to mingle here. You know, the European Union is not a political body, as much as Jean-Claude Juncker has said that it is a political body. It is not a political body. It has no legitimacy to take a stance here. So I think it's wise that the EU has largely stayed out of this. Now, that said, I do think it's good that some national leaders, like for example the Belgian Prime Minister, have clearly said that violence can never be the answer here, and there needs to be dialogue. Now, looking at how specifically the party of Rajoy has reacted to the demands for more autonomy and independence, objectively, wherever you stand, you have to admit that his strategy of saying, look, legally we in Spain have the opportunity to overrule you according to our constitution. This is of course legally accurate, that is correct, but it has not stopped the demands for independence. It has only made independence much more popular. Right. His recent actions to send in the riot police against peaceful referendum goers have actually increased the popularity of independence. So I think a change of strategy is needed.
Certainly. Okay, so Peter, let me ask Juan. Juan, he makes a good point, doesn't he? You can keep on saying it's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal, but the political reality on the ground will change. And people will say, we don't care if it's illegal or not, you're not listening to our voice. Do you accept that Peter makes a good point?
Obviously, I mean, on the next 21st of December, we have elections coming up. The people will speak in a fair election, in a fair election day, not in the self-made referendum that they did a few weeks ago. So on the next 21st of December, we will have a clear opportunity for all the people in Catalonia to speak up and to really say whatever they want to say and to claim in whatever position they want to be. So yes, 21st of December, it's a big day for Catalonia, and I hope that all the people that has been silenced and silent over this last 5 years will speak up that day.
Okay, Francesc Bellavista, December 21st. Are you looking forward to that day? And is it an opportunity for you to reinvigorate your project?
Yes and not. Of course, this we consider it as a illegitimate snap election because it was called by Prime Minister Rajoy, not by the Catalan President and the Catalan Parliament.
Yeah, but you guys called for an election without his permission, right? So now you know how it feels.
That's it. Okay, we accept that election. I'm not belonging to a political party. I do belong to a grassroots organization from the civil society. And the problem we're facing with this snap election for the 21st December is that it is called, but some people who would be candidates, opponents of Mr. Rajoy views, are in jail. How can you hold an election while you have your opponents in jail? It doesn't seem, or it doesn't look quite democratic, these elections. But, of course, we will do our best with the candidates. Actually, the president of my organization, Catalan National Assembly, today he confirmed that he is going to be a candidate, stand as candidate for this election, together as number 2 in the list of President Puigdemont, Together for Catalonia. But he will do that from jail.
Right. Okay, let me ask
we
one.
We will do our best.
Good
I'm
point.
sure. I'm sure that the Catalan pro-independence movement has won the last elections in the last several years, and I think we will get that victory on the ballot boxes.
Okay.
And show to Spain and Europe and the world that we stand first for democracy and then for our self-rule as a self-determined people.
Okay, I've got to wrap in 30 seconds, but I want to ask you, Juan, very briefly, please, isn't it a good point that it's an uneven playing field when the leadership are in jail and there's an election in the region at the same time?
It's quite bizarre, it's quite strange to hold an election this way, but this is the situation that they have put themselves into. I mean, they broke the law, they have to face the consequences. Now if they want to be elected in these elections, and now they are in jail because a judge, a democratic judge, has sent them to jail, this is the situation. I mean, it's not Rajoy that wanted this situation, it's themselves that have put themselves into this situation. What can we do?
Okay, we'll be covering that vote and its aftermath on December 21st. Gentlemen, I've got to move on. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. Francesc Bellavista, Peter Klepp, and Juan Rivadulla. Thank you for joining us on the Newsmakers.